is kind of showing up all over the place. What are things, and I'm not worried about identifying, here's a rhetorical device, but what would be things that were jumping out to you that is kind of making fun of, example-wise within the passage, this is how things are marketed. Not worried about a device, just worried about what would be some things that are included.
Comfort drones.
Because they are important. So not only do we have the pleasing comfortrons, but we also have the, where'd they go? Where's the pain nuclei? I know, it's right there it is. So pain nuclei, converting those into not just comfortrons, but pleasing comfortrons. Marie?
The last bit where it's like, oh, why do this when I can buy this thing, which is clearly endorsed by this dude who's really great in the lab coat.
So right here. And, this kind of happens probably to us all the time. If I'm looking for something on Amazon and I can see it for $30, but down below there's one that's listed for $15, chances are it's probably of lesser quality. Well, if I can get it for $15 instead of spending $30, I may as well go ahead and try it out. So that's certainly something that still happens.
Yeah, for me, I was thinking about the quote even above that. Like,
Helen Coons.
but after wearing magnuses for 7 weeks, because, like, a sprained ankle heals in that amount of time, so it doesn't even matter.
She could be walking barefoot after 7 weeks, and she's probably going to start feeling a little bit better.
The quote where it says it's not just a shoe insert, it's a foot rejuvenation system.
What's wrong with that?
Right below that it says according to scientific sounding.
Okay, so we have like the scientific sounding. The pseudoscientist thing is showing up all throughout. We got pseudoscience up here. We have nation's top pseudoscientist there. Similar to the guy, an intelligent-looking man in a white lab coat. That idea of, not saying fake science necessarily, but not maybe the most authentic and genuine support for it. It certainly gets used quite a bit.
Dr. Wayne Frankel, the California State University bioelectrician who discovered pteronometry. I think they sort of go into the whole using big names to sound more impressive is what's going on.
And certainly, we also know that who probably came up with the Earth's natural vibrational rate of 32.805 kilofrankels? Dr. Wayne. You have Dr. Phil, we have Dr. Wayne. Probably. Virginia?
I'm sure he's not a doctor.
Only Magnus will utilize the healing power of crystals to re-stimulate dead foot cells, and especially a process similar to that by which medicine makes people better.
Again, what's wrong with that?
It's just to my age. It's just like
I don't even know where to begin.
It discredits reflexology when it says it's a semi-plausible technique.
The semi-plausible technique of reflexology. That's right here. And does anyone know, just because it's right by it, anyone know what it means by practicing the Occident? Yes. As opposed to you have the Orient and you have the Occident. So when acupuncture was the big thing, say like 15 years ago, so why would you have this was practiced in the Orient for thousands of years, thousands upon thousands, or different, herbal medicines that will get used, certainly different forms of tea that Shay is going to drink, throughout her lifetime. Why do you? Well, because it's worked for millennia, within the Occident. Kind of a flip on that is, this has been practiced in the West or in New Jersey or in Massillon, Ohio for 11 years, so it seems like it should be pretty good with it. So you're still taking that, kind of fancy term, at least for us, what we would consider as being fancy, for over 11 years. Clearly, this is going to ultimately work, similar to how something's been practiced for years and years and years, in other parts of the world.
I think they use fancier words to just state kind of common sense things. Like when it says establishes a correspondence between every point on the foot and your part of your body. Isn't that just how nerves work? Isn't that just how the foot is? don't know exactly what.
What do you gotta go and ruin it for me?
Well, I just think that's just how the foot is. I don't know.
Yes, that would be your nerve system. Yeah, we do stuff like that. Restoring the foot's natural bioflow. And even like when it comes to the fancy, sounding words, you could be saying that with reflexology, contour points, pteronometry, all of that kind of stuff going on as well. Which, hey, if you're trying to sell something, what are you going to do? You're going to make it sound as appealing as you possibly can. And in this case, it's kind of like a cutting edge. Look at this. No one's kind of thought of this point before about your nervous system. Anna?
It was released less than a week ago.
For one easy installment of 1995. All right, so with the being released a week ago, because there's a couple different points that people kind of mentioned with this one. What jumps out to you about that for you, Hannah?
The fact that apparently Helen must be lying because she said she was wearing Magnus's for 7 weeks.
Okay.
And it was only released less than a week ago.
Yeah. So, because there's a couple things you could do with it. Clearly, if it's only been around for a week, you don't really know how effective it's going to be. Could Helen have gotten like a pair to try out ahead of time so that we could have, these wonderful things to say about it? Maybe. But it certainly can't be established as this is going to be this is the next best thing because we don't have enough, information about it yet. But it's only going to be 1995. Anything worthwhile definitely is going to be under $20. And you know what? You can even order a second pair. Shipping and handling double, but we'll give you a second pair. Look at 4 soles instead of just your one.
So just 2 feet.
Right. Do you have something else? Oh, there's another hand up too. Anything else? Pretty much highlighted pretty much the whole thing at this point, which is good because it means we're finding stuff. Now, not worried about necessarily, the terminology that would be showing up in literary term quizzes, but how would you characterize the strategies that are getting used in here with, again, that key word being how does it satirize the way that products are going to be marketed to consumers, but what would be like the techniques that are getting utilized here? So what would we say strategy-wise? What would be a term that you could use now to highlight these different examples instead of going big fancy words, or the fact that it's only been out for a week?
The article's kind of like making fun of things. They usually use like the scientific sounding literature, the clearly endorsed by an intelligent looking man in a white lab coat. Like it's clearly looking fun.
Probably especially how gullible we are, or how we could be reasonable human beings and rational. But when it comes to buying something, if it sounds good, hey, we're going to throw all that kind of reason away. So yeah, you certainly, part of it I think would be, this is the way that the consumers are going to be kind of fallible with their kind of thought process. Take, for example, like, why should I pay $20 for something that's clearly endorsed by an intelligent man in the white lab coat? Not worried specifically about the part that's highlighted in here, but what is this? Or what is this up here when Helen Kuhn is talking? Could be irony so far as the device, but even like in a more simple form, what from a marketing standpoint, pretend that this is a real company. What are they using? And these ones specifically are going to be consumer testimonials. So we have testimonials coming from consumers. We also have testimonials coming from doctors, Dr. Wayne Killefrankel, Arthur Blooney, the guy who's coming up with contour points and all that kind of stuff. What do you look for when you go to purchase a product? Even if you don't purchase something on Amazon, a lot of folks still go there. I want to see what the reviews are. Or, you do a quick Google search, blah, 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 customer reviews. And it tends to be the same reviews on all 12 websites that you look at, but we still feels better. You know what? Grace in Pittsburgh like this, so there's a good chance I'm going to as well. Plus, she can drive, so that makes her a better person.
I think the reviews on Amazon are like polar opposites. I was trying to get Elliot a lunchbox one day, and one review was like, "This Tupperware saved my broken family. Like, this is the reason why I'm seeing my kids." And then the next one was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever gone. I'm going to the hospital because of this." I didn't know what to do.
Did you buy a lunchbox?
No, I didn't. I was scared.
It's gonna tear my family apart. So, the testimonials are getting used, making fun of the way that we end up, if someone says that this is going to be good for us, we're probably going to listen to them. What else is happening? I mean, you said the fancy sounding words. Can you think of some, without saying like fancy diction?
Intelligent diction? Is that not okay?
It's not wrong. Sophisticated could do. No. Sciencey diction. You could definitely use exaggeration, and one of the things when you are dealing with how articles or how ideas are satirized, usually irony, exaggeration, understatement, humor, those are things that are going to kind of come to mind. So exaggeration would certainly be one that you could take a look at. Any other diction ideas? It's not that if you said, intelligent and sophisticated, sciencey diction, it's not that if you use those things it would necessarily be bad. Can you think of any a word, it's not diction, but can you think of a word where these are terms that are used for music? These are terms that are used for science. These are terms that are used in the legal profession. These are terms that are used in, sports or whatever. Like, yeah. I'd say lingo would be like the slang term of this. Begins with a J. Jargon. Now, and again, when it comes to a prompt like this, the term itself, super critical to the ultimate success? No, probably not. But the idea that you could specify that, okay, by jargon or lingo, I'm talking about vocabulary within a certain context. So if I go with something like jargon, this isn't going to necessarily work for like the pseudoscience idea, but what would be jargon that I could certainly have within the science field? Well, the reflexology, contour points. Hannah, when we were highlighting stuff, I think you mentioned in the passage the comfortrons. What was our nervous system?
The correspondence between the foot and the body.
Okay. I'm just going to go like ... with that rather than writing the whole thing. But you have a lot of this terminology that's getting used that's supposed to sound fancy, that is supposed to sound intellectual and sophisticated, and is going to make you want to purchase it. So usually, though, what is jargon? It's stuff that you already use, or it's words that you already know, or terms that you're already familiar with, but it's just a new name that's going to get used for that. What do you mean by that? Oh, it's just this. Oh, okay, I know exactly what that is now, at this point. So that could be something that you could certainly kind of take a look at where, and, specific kind of fancy words that are now getting utilized. What else? In the sense that it's like mimicking.
I don't want to say like a parody of like a science article or like a scientific journal.
Well, you could certainly do some kind of, yeah, I was going to say mock, but you don't want to use the word mock since that's already getting used within like being a mock press release. But I think with exaggeration, it's going to certainly kind of go in that way. Parody.
Can you use like the different like fallacies as some points, or is that not really
No, you can. I want to hold on before we get there, since we're still taking a look at this kind of aspect. But basically, you are making fun of the way that items are going to get marketed to the consumers, and that we tend to go, hey, you know what? That sounds pretty good. So yeah, you could do the idea that it's a parody of what should be scientific information, but it's just totally making fun of how gullible we ultimately are. Now, playing along those lines, state yours again.
Like circular argument, because they just say the same thing over.
So what are the fallacies? What are the problems? Okay, but if you use again those fancy words for that, like really, I think the idea of the fallacy could be something that you could kind of use throughout. That the idea of the jargon, or the idea of the parodies, or the idea of the details of how we want products marketed at 1995 or less. The consumer testimonials that they're going to use can hide the fallacies that are already present in there. So, like some of the things that you mentioned, circular reasoning, for which one?
I think specifically the one part where it was like, oh, a process by which medicine makes people better.
Okay.
This works because medicine works, and this is medicine. Like, it doesn't. It's not nothing. You're not saying anything new.
Well, and even like what you were saying up here, where it establishes correspondence between every point in the human foot. Yeah, we already know about that. The idea where I forget who mentioned it, but the fact that she's been wearing it for 7 weeks, just try to prove that it didn't heal me. I mean, you could be doing anything for 7 weeks, and you're probably going to start feeling better. I cut my finger yesterday, but I think that Batman Band-Aid that I used really worked because it's not bleeding anymore. So from now on, Batman Band-Aids only, and I'm going to be doing better. I could have just let it not do anything, and it would be done bleeding kind of by now. Any other fallacies?
Isn't there like appeal to like authority, not authority, but like like smart people,
No,
doctors?
it's literally called appeal to authority. And appeal to authority is, I mean, it's not that just because you reference a smart person that you are wrong, but if you appeal to authority, and that is in lieu of actual logic, that's going to be a problem. And the same thing would happen with emotion. You appeal to emotion in lieu of any kind of logic, which what's happening down here, when I can pay $20 for insoles clearly endorsed by an intelligent-looking man in a white lab coat, yeah, that's going to be an appeal to authority that's happening at that point. Right. If you don't want to heal it the right way, here's an alternative that we can now use. So absolutely.
And also, I think earlier on it says that like the crystals re-stimulate dead foot cells. The foot cells are dead. Can't really re-stimulate something that's already died.
But we have vibrational feedback or vibrational biofeedback. It's kind of like medicine. It might make you feel better. Maybe. So even though we're not saying diction, imagery, details, motifs, illusion, things like that, testimonials, exaggeration, jargon, lingo, logical fallacies, parody, humor, those are certainly strategies that are getting used within this article that's going to make fun of the way that we decide what we are going to purchase. So yeah, this kind of